Okay, yeah, so I've been away for a little while. Had some issues come up and took some time to myself, even though I just started this brand new podcast. And you might think, wow, why would you do that? Well, maybe one day I'll say. But until then, I'm just going to keep talking about whatever. Hi, I'm Jonathan Mertz. And before I get started and jump right into this, please subscribe to me on your favorite podcast platform on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. You can follow my fan page on Facebook. Just go out there and please support me and support your other podcasts as well. So sometimes in life, there are things that need to be said, and you know it. Well, that's the focus of today's podcast. As a matter of fact, there's a video to go along with it. If you go onto my YouTube page, or even if you go to my Instagram or TikTok, you can see this video. Here's the audio from it. You know, there's times in life that you just got to take a stand, and you've got to pour your entire feelings out. And it's just part of life. But if you choose to keep quiet, well, you've got to deal with the consequences that come from that. And if you choose to speak up, you've got to deal with the consequences that come from that. It seems like a catch-22 sometimes. There's negative outcomes on both sides, whether you stay quiet or whether you open up. Because what you say does matter, and it matters to some people. What it really should matter is, what does it matter to you? It's just the things to think about. And so, I don't think I need to say anything other than that's the focus today, is speaking up. And when to do it. And how should you do it? Well, that's up for interpretation. But that's what's coming up here on Jonathan Mertz, just talking about whatever. In life, things can pass you by, or they may not go your way. Sometimes you may notice someone else struggling or having a conflict. In either situation, a possible solution may be to speak up. This doesn't mean you become a Karen. Okay, as the term has been coined, for Karen, which is basically the wrong way to handle any situation. And I'm sorry for all of the good people out there named Karen. I know you're out there, and I know a few of you. However, to speak up actually means taking a reasonable approach and using your voice to help, or even your actions. So the question is, how do you achieve this? Well, let's talk about that right now. One way, obviously, to achieve this is to just talk about it. Talk about it to people who it's going to impact. Okay? An example of this is going to a Board of Education meeting and voicing your opinion on what the school system is doing. Maybe you agree with it, maybe you don't agree with it. But that is exactly what happened in Shelby County, Kentucky, where I, along with a multitude of other people, from students to parents, voiced our opinion about them closing the Big Picture Academy. Let me share some of the stories first. And we'll start with this one right here.
Hi, my name is Ariana Wells. I'm a junior at Big Picture.
Ariana is one of the many students from the Big Picture Academy that got up and spoke about their passion for the school that the school system had created. And yet they say it's a program and not a school, but it was portrayed to the students as a school. She is one example of a student that this program has totally turned her life around. Now, I will also say that many of the stories that we're going to play do make some allegations. I have myself no proof of the allegations, and that the words that are being said are those of the individual speaking and not of mine or this show. And I have to say that, but because I have no proof to back it up other than what is being said. So, take that as it may be. Anyways, here is the rest of Ariana's story.
This is my first year. I came to Big Picture, amazing opportunity from Miss Shipley. At first I was at the Ascension Alternative, got in some trouble, but I turned my life around. I turned a negative into a positive. Now I have an internship at a doctor's office. I'm not in the environment at Shelby County getting harassed by students, being called the N-word, the sexual assault that they're hiding and not investigating in that happens at our school.
All right, so you got to hear that, and she did make an allegation there. But these things aren't unique to the Shelby County school system. They're widespread. Here's another example of something that happened within the Shelby County school system that is just not unique to Shelby County, but is a widespread issue across the U.S.
I'm Rachel. I've been at Big Picture for 4 years. I'm a senior now. And Miss Shipley, she has done everything for us and always fought for us. All the faculty at Big Picture, they're amazing. All of these students, we have 2 more seniors up here, no, 3 more seniors up here. They got into amazing schools with amazing scholarships, and it wouldn't have been for Big Picture. Big Picture has done so much for me, and I know that you guys think Shelby County and Collins will be better for us. But the first time I walked into Collins, I got called a border jumper. That was the first time I ever walked into that school. Group of kids called me a border jumper. Went to Big Picture, that's when I decided, oh, I don't want to be at the school because I know I'm a minority and I might get judged. I've never felt that way at Big Picture.
So I know we've heard from a couple of the students and their experiences, but what about the personal view from a parent? Listen to the emotion in Marissa Motley's voice when she talks about her child's experience from the public school and then through the Big Picture Academy, which is still technically ran through the public school, but it's a smaller independent school within the school. Sort of.
Tonight I'm speaking to all of you regarding your decision to close Big Picture Learning Academy. I've been a parent of Shelby County Public Schools since December of 2014. My son had a great elementary experience but was severely bullied in middle school. Administrative did what it could, but when your spouse said he is worried that our son may hurt himself if he continues middle school, you know a change must occur. So we pivoted and homeschooled for 2 years while I worked full-time. We returned to the district this year because I value the in-person school experience. We did this in large part due to Ms. Shipley's leadership. She has created a safe haven where children are thriving. My son's MAP scores, which you all love to report, have never been higher.
It saddens me because the common theme amongst many of the students that chose to go to the Big Picture Academy is that of bullying. And we've seen it across national news. We've seen it everywhere. We've seen it all over the place. But that's not really all the focus of this episode. But I do want to share this real quick before I get back into what we're talking about on this episode. How did the board members respond at the end of the meeting about this? Well, none of them really said anything in regards to Big Picture other than trying to explain some of how their finances worked. Except for Sonia Blackburn. Here's what she said.
And as far as the big picture, I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to. I have mixed emotions about that and feel like that we're quitting on 110 students.
Now, she She is a prime example of when you speak up, that you impact somebody. Now, has this changed the school system's decision to overturn and allow Big Picture to continue? No. As a matter of fact, as we investigated and as we got into it, we found out this wasn't even a board decision. It wasn't even brought to the board. It was solely done by the academic leaders within the school system, bypassing the board completely. And there's other things that we have discovered, but we're not going to get into all of that. This episode is about speaking up and doing it in a manner that gets the biggest impact. Now, when you see people speak up, these are prime examples. You heard how composed they were. And as a matter of fact, if you want to go see the entire thing, you can actually go to YouTube and search the Shelby County Public Schools. It's for the Kentucky school system. It'll have Kentucky in it, or KY in it as well in their name. And it's the March 24th meeting. You'll have to scroll through. I'll put the link on my website for it at jonathanmertz.com. Go to the podcast section there, and you'll be able to see the link for this. Now, when you are speaking up, there are ways to do it. Those parents, every single one of them, and the kids could have been yelling at the top of their lungs, but they chose not to. They decided to take an emotional approach. Now, does it always work? Absolutely not. But as you see, they were able to move at least one person. And we know there has been 1 to 2 more people who have been moved by this. That has come to us personally, that's on that board. Now, the parents still have a long way to fight to make that happen. But when you look at the bigger picture, as you know, I'm going to put back into this. The biggest picture is, how can you help? How can you do things like this? Well, if you're an attorney, you may want to do some help and do pro bono work in this case, and do some investigating. You know, subpoena the text messages between board members, between academic leaders there at the school board, and you know, things like that, emails, which are part of the public record acquisition that you can get if it's on a state or a Shelby County school system owned device. Now, if it's personal, that's a totally separate category altogether. But those are things that you can try for. Doesn't mean you're going to be granted. You know, you can get into there, start fighting it. You could go start throwing down lawsuits of damages, psychological damages against the school system. All this could be pressured against them. Now, I'm not saying do that or that's even an option. I'm just saying in general, people have options that they need to know about. And speaking up only gets you so far. There are parents right now that are far more invested in this than I have been. Due to my job, first off, I have to be cautious in what I normally do and go and am a part of, and how I have to approach this. But it is an amazing thing when you see them stepping out and contacting local representatives from the state legislature to the Attorney General's office. You know, all of these things are happening because they love a thing so much that they're willing to speak out about it. Whether the outcome is good or bad, they are making it known. And that's what it truly means to speak up. You have to let people know where you stand. And you can do it by one of two ways. Actually speaking up and telling everybody verbally, or saying nothing at all. Because even though you say nothing at all, technically in a way, you are still speaking. Because you're not giving an answer. Yes, you could be secretly on one side or the other, but in a way, you're still giving an answer. And that is, to me, very, very, very fascinating. But, you know, they could be rioting, they could be tearing down the board, but they're not. They're very diplomatic in where they're handling this. And that's actually what you need to do on anything in life, is try to handle it diplomatically as possible. Some people say, well, you know, words ain't going to get a good old butt whooping will really help things out. No, not always. Plus, you got the good chance of going to jail. And then that Could lead to other things, loss of jobs, maybe even lost your kids if you're divorced. So there's things that have repercussions associated with that. But man, the fact that people get the courage up to do it. But how do you do that? How do you get the courage? Well, it's hard to explain because it is a mental thing. And not everybody's mental power is going to be there. So sometimes you can confide into one person who can maybe even speak on behalf of you. Because you don't have the courage or you're too afraid to do public speaking. Look for those and confide into your friends. And see who will fight for you sometimes. It can be that simple. It's not always going to work, but it can be. But you won't know unless you try. That's it. That's the thing about speaking up. You won't know unless you try. So what are your thoughts on speaking up? Hit me up on Twitter at Jonathan Mertz and just let me know your thoughts. I'm super interested in hearing your approach and any advice you may have. Well, till next time.